Welcome to Knowledgeable Aging. I'm your host, Jason Kotar. Joining us today to talk about the Biopsychosocial Model is Dr. Sai Raj Kappari. Dr. Kappari is a clinical gerontologist and works in emphasizing the biopsychosocial aspects of aging and the impact of the well-being of individuals he serves. Dr. Kappari has a Doctor of Pharmacy and a Master of Science from Gerontology from the University of Southern California. How are you doing today, Dr. Kappari?
Fantastic. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. And very happy to able to contribute some of my core aspirations and my model to help our knowledgeable aging viewers.
Very good. Well, thank you. Well, before we jump into it, a little bit of housekeeping for those that are joining us today. Go ahead and type in your questions, and then we'll, time permitting, at the end, we'll go ahead and get to those questions and get those answered for you. So, Dr. Kappari, the biopsychosocial model.
Again,
turn it over to you, sir.
What a wonderful feeling to share this model at this very pandemic. Again, it actually has shattered us all together. So there are some of the more core areas where individuals can improve irrespective of their condition or what they are in. So the agenda for today would be having an introduction of what is biopsychosocial model, and we will discuss about the wellness model. We'll talk about loneliness in older adults and being a clinical gerontologist and working closely with them, and also able to experience living in a retirement community. I was able to learn the importance of the socialization factor and taking an IKIGAI purposefulness concept from Japanese proverb. And at last, we'll be ending with celebration of life. Next slide, please. So that's where it's being said. The model is all about wellness. The biopsychosocial aspects of life impacts each one of us individually, collectively, in every way possible. So what is biopsychosocial model? It is biological, psychological, and sociological, which can be socio-environmental. And then we have an information, what is wellness? Wellness is a state of complete physical, mental, and social. And everything together is what we consider wellness. Next slide, please. So I'm an avid fan of Venn diagrams, and as you can see here, how everything is coupled in. The coupling itself is a most beautiful ways how our life are intertwined. So you can see the biological factors where you can see gender, disability, physical health. You can be psychological factors, can be behavior, personality. It can be our attitude, our beliefs. And then the social factors, which can be your education, the social support you have, and the socioeconomic orders. And all together coupled in brings the whole internal connected, intertwined part, which is the well-being. Next slide, please. And the wellness model comes with the extension of our biopsychosocial model, where you can see life, mind, body, community together. So we think that we are part, like again, as Rumi says, you are not the drop in the ocean, you're the whole ocean in a drop. It's just how you see it. How you see yourself, like you see as an individual in a small bubble, or you see the whole universe inside you. We have 37 trillion cells inside our body. It is double the GDP of the US if you just give that a cell $1. And that is amount of cells you have. So think about what wonderful things you can actually do and how connected all these cells are in bringing us the whole approach. And again, the wellness model, you can see the factors where financials, cultural, spiritual, which can be a life factor, but the mind factor can be your resilience, intellectuality, or your academic success, or your emotional strength can be, or emotional quotient in business world can be considered a highest factor. And then comes the body, like physical, your nutrition, your sleep, and your sexual health, which we will be discussing about more in sleep and why it is important in the coming slides. But then these are all important to to build that petals together. And that's where the another petal of love and compassion adds from the community, which can be environmental, it can be your career, it can be your volunteerism. People, again, living in a retirement community, I was able to see how many joyful faces I was able to encounter by just looking at these people who are about 3 times my age. Like when I was 27, I went in to retirement community in Los Angeles, Kingsley Manor. But then when I came out as part of my USC graduation program, so I was actually dining with 90-year-olds, and the community with their association had a big impact in my life, because their stories, their knowledge, their wisdom, who have survived earthquakes, recession, wars, they're sharing those stories with me, and how important, and it shaped me to be a better person. And that it would I consider as an important aspect of community in the fourth petal of this wellness model. Next slide, please. And that brings that the very idea of loneliness. Again, the pandemic has shattered us, all of us. It doesn't discriminate individual age, gender, uh, color of your skin, or race, or anything. It doesn't discriminate at all. It has impact on each one of in each one of us. And in the US, we can actually see there are 3 million cases of coronavirus. But the people who are actually having more trouble are actually the ones with who are older adults, and also who are having some immunosuppression activities. So that's been said, loneliness has itself a bigger factor, which has a lot of situations where individuals can lose that too. And given the life expectancy being 79.2 in the US, and on an average male is like 77, average female is 84. So there is a gap of 7 years to 6 to 7 years, where the older adults and older women are actually living longer. And that is also a considered factor for loneliness in coming ways. So what is loneliness? It is again a situation where you are not having emotional, physical support, which we were earlier discussing about the life, the wellness model, life, community, career, and everything along, and the biopsychosocial, and your social aspects are not close in. And when loneliness, social isolation, and depression create, it actually impacts on your physical health. So when it impacts on your physical health, it actually impacts on your results to not having enough sleep. The first thing in a regular assessment of geriatric assessment we look in. So what is the problem you have? So I can't find sleep, and that's the first thing which any assessor or a case manager or a physician will ask, because that's the most that is most common condition for individuals with depression or loneliness. So what does it happen when you're not sleeping enough? So it rises your blood pressure. It can, if you're diabetic, there is a chance of elevated blood glucose levels too. So in that condition, people who are diabetic and who have high blood pressure, guess what? You actually are in a high verge of having a stroke. And which if you have multiple small nodular stroke, you may actually have a condition called vascular dementia, which can be a situation which has elevated with poor sleep, which can be reduced, which I will be discussing in the next slides. But it eventually leads to worsening of cognition. So now comes the very high model of socialization. So this is a concept which I feel I've been able to implement in most of my residents and also my patients in India and everybody around. So when I becomes we, even illness becomes wellness. So it's the individual who I'm looking in, but now I am together. So if I have somebody to speak to, somebody to talk to, somebody to listen to, and somebody to communicate with me, So how wonderful that good feeling is to have your loved ones or your friend or a family member or an acquaintance who just listens to you. So that's where I becomes we, and when I becomes we, even illness becomes wellness. Surprisingly, there is a situation here for a smile. So it only takes 11 muscles to smile and 24 muscles to frown. So that means that if you're regularly on your mat, you're actually saving more energy by smiling than frowning. And a happy smile can actually impart a happy. It is contagious. It may, again, given the pandemic, we are all wearing masks, but a situation to just to kind gesture on a web call like this, or to your loved one at home or outside, give a smile. Your eyes can smile too, and that is contagious, and it helps more people to look into the bigger picture and a brighter day together. And again, what are those things can be done? And, what I feel is once things get settled with the coronavirus, you can be part of local community activities. You can be a singing or walking group, or it can be a book club or quiz nights or virtual bingo, or you can have faith groups too. So a lot of communities in the US are actually trying to build this connective model, and Alzheimer's Association LA, or Alzheimer's Association Florida, or Washington DC, HelpAge International, HelpAge India, HelpAge Canada, they're trying to build a virtual model where all the individuals can come in. So there was a model for experience core where older adults were being the teachers to teach English for students in Central America. So the older adults were the teachers, help mentoring the students right in Colombia or in parts of Central America, and people were able to learn English from a native speaker. So this is actually a better opportunity for these individuals to learn English. And the other thing is the older adults have a sense of purpose, which we'll discuss in the next slides. Next slide, please. And I always feel that having a journal or filling your diary brings a stronger, stronger week forward. So well begun is half done, as our earlier generations say. I personally feel the same too. It just doesn't have to be what I'm doing the whole day. It can be what I'm doing the whole week. It can be simple 3 things or 4 things. Or this week I'll phone George or Anne for a chat, or I'll say hello to the new neighbor, or I will really make a good omelette or a toast, or I will have a nice walk to the park when it is safe, or I will call my old friend. So what does it happen? You're actually looking forward. You have a positive sense of purpose, which says, okay, I'm moving forward, making progress on to the next level. Next slide, please. And that is what brings the ikigai. The ikigai is a concept which it is from Japanese context, where iki means life, gai means effect. So our ability to look forward. So earlier I was discussing about why it is important to have a diary. She's actually looking forward to have the itinerary, what we are doing. So again, I love Venn diagrams and everything couples do, because I think everybody is connected, everybody is interlinked. All we have to is open up our real self, and that the whole concept will come in. So you can see the what we love, the passion, mission, vocation, profession, and that all together brings ikigai. And every individual has something to contribute. It is a flow state for what we love, and when we love what we do, it's no longer work. It is a vacation in itself, and that's a celebration. Next slide, please. And that brings the concept which I was earlier discussing about experience core, which is generativity, a concern for people besides self and family that usually develops during middle ages. So our Erickson model of 7 stages, usually the seventh, usually 8 stage, but 7th stage is actually generativity, a concept which people come in about 55 to 70 years of age. That's where they understand, oh my God, something happened, and they take back their selves and they see, oh, have I achieved something in my life? So that's usually they say midlife crisis, but it isn't for different generation. But for this is the situation of generativity, which is same as that is. So have I left a legacy? Do I making a difference in other lives of others? Am I giving back to the community, or am I making a difference in the community? So there is a concept which I was able to get from Native American individuals called HOSO, which is balance, which is interconnectedness. So between beauty, harmony, and goodness in all things physical and spiritual, that results in health and well-being for all things and beings. So they bring everything together. That is the reason you see a group of Native Americans having prayers together, having a progress together, or thinking about their grandfathers and having their grandfather's strength on them, because everything is interconnected. And there is a quote in the downstairs, like usually my favorite president, which is JFK, one of my favorite presidents. It's ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. That means every individual has something to contribute, and what can be done is is a sense of generativity.
There we go.
So I always think this team is the most important thing. Like I was earlier discussing, when I becomes we, even illness becomes wellness. And that's being said, a team is together, everyone achieves more. I love these things which can actually make a small scheme out of it. But you always need to understand whom you are around surrounding with. Like sometimes it can be a medical professional, can help in counseling, and somebody can support in prevention of condition. Like knowledgeable aging is bringing everybody together to share their experiences and interests and to the industry. What it brings is it brings a different approach of, oh, this is something is happening, and this actually brings a positiveness to the community, and that is the generativity, and that is what it's important. And sometimes we are able to have those resources availability and also reach out to those resources. And with this, that being said, there are so many resources, but what we can teach our older adults or the family members is resourcefulness. So when we teach give them resources, they may not know how to use it. But when you help them to understand the resourcefulness, that is a whole different concept. Then they're able to understand personally, emotionally, biopsychosocially. Next slide, please. That's on the concept which I would like to end on to, is the celebration of life. Relations Relationships keeps us happier and healthier. So there was a Harvard-based study for 79 years, I suppose. So it is a study which actually included my favorite president in Boston suburbs, who was a Catholic, but it was later dropped, which is JFK. So he was also part of that study by Harvard, by Walzinger. So that's being said, people with good relationships live longer. When you have somebody you can look in and have a confidant, there is a better chance that you will live longer. So that brings a concept of socialization, and now it's no longer I, it is we. When I becomes we, even illness becomes wellness. And that socialization interlinks with the biopsychosocial aspects, which creates the petals of life, which we discussed earlier in the presentation. So recognize that you're aging. It's the right side of the grass. It's always feel that not many individuals have this capability and experience which you are going through. And again, you have 37 trillion cells inside your body, and that makes all the difference. And you're never alone. You're never bored either. You can actually build this whole self, and this whole self can be a torch bearer to the next person. And always defy expectations. Have a career goal. It doesn't mean that you are at 65 or 70 or 35 or 25. you don't have to have expectations from yourself. Yes, always have something to look forward for. And that's the concept of IKIGAI comes in, purposefulness. What is your passion? What is your vocation? What is your celebration, and what you can do for to the community, the concept of generativity. So these are all together brings a sense of contribution. We see a lot of competition around us, a lot of fast movement lives, and a lot of things which we think like, oh, this is the only way to go onto the top. But when we actually somehow go to the top of the mountain, we can actually see from the top of the mountain there's different ways of coming to the mountain, not the single way you took. That's been said, it's always a sense of contribution which brings the best in people. And when our life purpose changes from competition to the contribution, it becomes a celebration. Next slide, please. And I thank you for that. So these are the individuals who are actually the ones who inspired me, and there are like 400-year-olds there. The one in the red is actually passed away at 109, and the couple on the top are actually, she was 101, she passed away in my hands, and he's 101 now. And I was able to take my friends to USC to part of my schooling when I was a TA. And it's the love and experiences which I get from them, and that is all makes the whole difference to me. Thank you. And
Very good.
thank you. Yeah.
Very good, Dr. Kappari. Well, I've got quite a few questions here. So this one's a little personal. I hope you don't mind. It says, how long would you like to be living?
Well, that's a great question. Again, to me, again, living in a retirement community, I was able to understand how important it is to live longer, and how important it is to live happier and healthier. So I would say as long as I was able to contribute to the community in any ways I can, and as long as I'm well and I'm not on any life-sustaining medication. I also discussed this with my going to be wife, that if something comes in, please make sure, because I understand the resources are limited, so it has to be used in the right way. Yeah. So the answer is as long as I'm able to contribute to the community so that I can celebrate my life. Yeah.
Yep. Another question. I mean, we saw the impact you made here that they both made. They made on you and you made on them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What made you choose getting into this field?
Great. That's amazing question again. Living in India and growing up in India, that makes a lot of difference. But what brought me is, what is that I'm able to give back? What is that something which I will be able to have look back to my years that, oh, this is what I was able to do. So having a sense of purpose and looking into the eyes of an individual that you made a difference in their lives makes a hell lot of a difference. And I was able to receive that in India and also in the US, that I make a difference in their life. And again, it is not I, it is we. When I becomes we, illness becomes wellness. So that wellness was coming to me and was coming to them too.
Very good. A couple more questions here. Why is it important to have a gerontologist in this moment?
Wonderful question. Again, this is actually the need of the hour. So by 2032, if you consider just in the US, we will have about 37 million people who are over 75. So think about the 10% of the population, every fourth or fifth person you meet is actually over 65, and every 10% you meet is actually over 75. So that actually is a number which we are looking in, and there is a lot of need for healthcare professionals, gerontologists, geriatricians, family physicians, general medicines who are specialized in geriatric care. Because what it does is it brings a heavy amount of requirement in the coming generations, and we have to provide those so that people can live happier and healthier. Like resources are available. What we are missing is resourcefulness, and the resourcefulness can be a process which we can do by having good professionals who can contribute to the community at large.
Very good. You know, and it's a follow-up question to that is you talk about, education and training. The missing part here is the youth. Dr.
Wonderful.
Kappari, what do you think the role of the youth going forward?
That's a great question, Jason. Again, I personally feel the building blocks are the pillars of any country is the youth. Because Nelson Mandela says, if you want to destroy a country, don't go for bombs, just destroy its education. It will destroy itself in 10 years. So what are we talking? We are destroying the whole country by destroying the education system. And education actually has a high impact on individuals to move forward. So what can we do? Youth are the biggest contributors for coming into the senior care industry. There are a lot many opportunities in retirement communities, in home health care, in becoming social workers, in becoming case managers, in becoming, if you are activity directors or executive directors, and you can also, if you like to have, you can become nurses, and everybody together brings all in connection. And the youth have a high potential to make a big progress in this communication. And I always look for developing youth, and youth empowerment is my greatest, I think is my greatest model to bring people. And that is itself brings me a sense like, okay, what is that we are doing for our community by enhancing youth at once? Because as in India, when I was growing up, we were having Rashtriya Samg Sevak, which is a volunteer organization, but it actually helps, RSS actually helps communities for resources availability and allocation, and it helps. Yeah.
Last question. This one kind of relates to the screen that we're looking at. I know they're coming good. Get some good questions here. This one I think kind of fits to the screen that we're looking at, which is, what do you think it means to lose somebody in their later years?
Wow. So that is a great question, because first time, again, having a loved one you lose, it's really difficult. But then we have to understand as we are aging, we should also understand death is inevitable. There is nothing called a magic pill. You can take it and you can live it longer. So there are some movies which says like In Time by Justin Timberlake or Dementia, any of those things. But the most important thing here, even the longest one who lived, 122, Jen Clement, is to have life a celebration. So that's been said, what is that we provided to those individuals who are actively passing or who are in the verge of passing? The comfort and support which they actually deserve, with the dignity to in death, and having their wishes and feelings being adjected. And that brings a strong, again, being a Hindu, you always have a sense that you will be reincarnated if you have done something. So next transition has to be better, and that transition has to be a celebration. And losing loved ones itself is a process, but then they're transitioning to the next level, and that's their virtue, and I see that as a positive thing. And if you think that being youth is a positive thing, being old is a positive thing, and I always think that even having a comfortful death is also a positive thing.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Kappari, a lot to process here. How can people find you?
Well, you can contact me on Gmail. It's sairaj.kappari@gmail.com, and on LinkedIn, it's the same as Sai Raj Kappari, and Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I think I missed it, but Sai Raj Kappari is, you can find me on there, and I'll be happy to take any questions. Again, it is a great privilege and a happy moment that I was able to contribute some of my 2 cents to the wonderful field of aging. And I thank Jason Kotar for this great webinar, and everybody who's going to be watching it and progressing it to the next level. And I'm happy that together everyone achieves more. So we are a team. We are all connected, and that's the IKIGAI process. Thank you so much.
Like you said, we, right? It's not I, it's we.
Yes. when I becomes we, even illness becomes wellness. It's all
Very
about
good.
we. Yep.
Very good. All right, well, thank you again, Dr. Kappari. Till next
Thank
time,
you
I'm
so
your
much.
host. Yes, thank you. Till next time, I'm your host, Jason Kotar, and this is Knowledgeable Aging.